Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. If you could hit that like button, that would be great. This video is going to be going over the most recent press release from the Moscow Police Department, and this was put out on December 10th, which is yesterday. This will get us all up to date on what is currently known by law enforcement and that they're putting out. Obviously, they know a hell of a lot more than we do, but this is what they've let us know. The Moscow Police Department is providing the following information to update the public on the known facts surrounding the 4 murders that occurred on November 13th in Moscow, Idaho. Moscow, Idaho, with commencement this weekend, there will be an influx of people coming in from out of town. Moscow Police Department and Idaho State Police will provide coverage on campus and in the Moscow area. As always, we want to remind the public to stay vigilant, travel in groups, and communicate with family and friends as you travel. If you have any information regarding the case, please email the tip line at tipline@ci.moscow.id.us or call us at 208-883-7180. We want to thank the public for their continued support. The investigation continues with the same amount of resources. Moscow Police Department has 6 detectives, 5 support staff, communications team. The FBI has 46 investigators in Moscow and located throughout the United States, 2 behavior analysis unit investigators. Idaho State Police has 13 investigators in Moscow, 15 uniformed troopers assisting with community patrols, and ISP forensic services. So for those of you who don't think there's enough coverage and they don't know what they're doing, you're very much mistaken here. 46 FBI agents, 13 Idaho State Police investigators in there. This is being investigated very, very thoroughly, and currently they just don't have any answers. They probably have a hell of a lot more answers than we do. However, they're still saying they don't have any suspects identified. As previously reported, a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, investigators would like to thank the community and public for recent information provided about the vehicle and the spike in tips. The FBI is prioritizing and vetting those tips for use in the investigation. The public is asked to continue to use the tip line to report any information about the vehicle. So I think this vehicle is more significant to them than just them believing they may have witnessed something. I think they might even think this vehicle was driven by the actual killer. That's just my opinion. Calling in tips. Please be aware that the new call process takes patience on behalf of the caller, and there is some prompts to follow. This is a national FBI tip line, and it's important to get all the way through the prompts to reach the right agent to report the information. Remember, your tip may be the key to solving this case. Detectives remain interested in speaking with the occupants of a white 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra, and they do say occupant or occupants. And they have an unknown license plate. Tips and leads have led investigators to look for additional information about this vehicle being in the immediate area of the King Road residence during the early morning hours of November 13th. Investigators believe the occupant or occupants of this vehicle may have critical information to share regarding this case. If you know of or own a vehicle matching this description, or know of anyone who may have been driving this vehicle on the days preceding or the day of the murders, please forward that information to the tip line. Again, the tip line is 208-883-7180. You can also email them at tipline@ci.moscow.id.us. You can also send digital media to fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. And you can see right here, here's a picture of that type of a vehicle. At this time, no suspects has been identified, and only vetted information that does not hinder the investigation will be released to the public. We encourage referencing official releases for accurate information and updated progress. All press releases and information related to the case are available at, and there's a website that you can see, https://www.ci.moscow.id.us/1064/King Street Homicide, and I can also put that link in the description. Here's the official narrative. On the evening of November 12th, Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan were at a local bar called the Corner Club, which is right here. That's the Corner Club. It's a very non-distinct building. When you look at it, there's almost no windows. It actually reminds me of the exotic dance places that you see around where you don't want anybody to look inside. It was at 202 North Main Street in downtown Moscow, and they were there between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th. At approximately 1:40 a.m., Kaylee and Madison were seen on video at a local food vendor called The Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street, and used a private party for a ride home from downtown to arrive at their 1122 King Road residence around 1:56. So Grub Truck, you can see how easy it would be just to walk from there, and Grub Truck was parked right here. It was right in this area right here, and this is where you see Kaylee and Madison at the Grub Truck, and there was an individual that was walking with them. Apparently it's claimed that that individual was making sure that they made it home because they had been drinking too much. Okay, and then after they were done getting their food, they went out on the street like this and got into a vehicle, likely out here, to get a ride home. And the individual that was following them walked around like this and headed back in this direction where you can park your vehicle. So he headed back that direction. That was around 1:40-ish. Also, investigators have determined that Ethan Chapin and Zaina Kernodle were seen at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Perce Drive. At approximately 1:45 a.m., Ethan and Zaina are believed to have returned to the residence at 1122 King Road. It was previously reported that Ethan resided at the home. However, it has been determined that he was only visiting. And here is the location. So again, just a minute ago I showed you where the Grub Truck was. They live in this house right here. Sigma Chi is right there. So the party that Ethan and Zaina were at was right here, and the house that everybody lived at 1122 King Road is right here. It's very, very close. Detectives believe that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had also been out in the Moscow community separately. And when they say separately, does that mean those two were separate from each other, or those two were together but separate from the other four people? I think it probably just means that each one of the surviving roommates was out alone, not with each other. I think it means they were out not with each other. So they were out separately but returned home by 1 a.m. on November 13th. The two did not wake up until later that morning. So that's something, when I read that, they got home at 1 and they didn't wake up till later that morning. I think that we're missing some information, because early on the roommates had told people that they locked their doors because they heard some things. I think there's a lot more that they observed and heard during that time between 1 a.m. and the time that they called somebody over to check. I wouldn't be surprised at all if one of the roommates even got up at one point in the morning and went up the stairs and saw somebody on the ground and called their name, and then just realized that the noises they heard the night before weren't people partying, but was something very, very evil that was going on. On November 13th, the surviving roommates summoned friends to the residence because they believed one of the second floor victims had passed out and was waking up. So that right there is opposite of what, the rumored story is that one of the surviving roommates passed out, and that's what the 911 call was about. But when you read this, the call was about a person on the second floor that was one of the victims that was killed. They believed that they had passed out at the time. At 11:58 a.m., a 911 call requested aid for an unconscious person. The call was made from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones inside the residence. Multiple people talked with the 911 dispatcher before Moscow police arrived at the location. Officers entered the residence and found 2 victims on the second floor and 2 victims on the third floor. 2 victims on the second floor are right in this bedroom right here. So if you come in through the door right there, as soon as you enter the door, you head up some stairs where you can see right there, that's the door right there. You come right up these stairs, take a hard right, and this is where Ethan and Zaina were found murdered. Then if you go up these stairs that you can see right there, after you exit that room, you go down the little step right there and go up these stairs that you can see, you end up coming up to the third floor. Kaylee's room is right here, was right there. I don't know if she still had stuff there and it sounds like her stuff was still there because her bed was made, apparently, according to her dad. And this is Madison's room right here, and that's apparently where both girls were found murdered. That's what the information that's out now. It apparently that both of them were found murdered in Madison's room. And so that gives you the general layout right there. I've been working on the model. I got the deck built in and the slab of cement out there, and I have the roofs, excuse me, I say roof. All right, so here we go, back to this. Autopsies were conducted on November 17th. The Latah County coroner confirmed the identity of the 4 murdered individuals and their cause and manner of death as homicide by stabbing. The coroner stated the 4 victims were likely asleep. Some had defensive wounds, and each was stabbed multiple times. There was no sign of sexual assault. So it says that they were likely sleeping during the attack, and that kind of makes sense, like they were asleep while the attack happened, but maybe some of them woke up, obviously, to, like Zaina apparently had defensive wounds, and obviously you're going to wake up if there's somebody being attacked, especially if there's 2 in one room. While one is being attacked, the other one very likely might actually wake up. Yes, this next part is interesting to me, that they're really focused in on Ethan and Zaina here. It's interesting when they say they're believed to be home around 1:45. Is that because the roommates down below heard sounds of them coming in? And I guess what we don't really know is, was somebody with them when they came home? And then when Kaylee and Madison got home, they never even ran into Ethan and Zaina. I kind of was wondering about that last night. And then maybe later on, when everybody was asleep, something earlier might have happened to Zaina and Ethan, right? Like they might have actually been killed closer to 2 o'clock, and maybe the killer was still in the area, in the house actually, and then made his way up later when Madison and Kaylee finally went to sleep. I mean, we really don't know at this point what the timing is, but to me it's really interesting that they want to know more about Ethan Chapin and Zaina Kernodle's timeline when, if you listen to Kaylee's dad, he believes that his daughter was the focus of the killer, was the actual target. And he mentions that her wounds are much more severe than the other victims. So here's what I was about to read. Detectives continue investigating what occurred from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th, when Ethan Chapin and Zaina Kernodle were believed to be at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Perce Drive. Any interactions, contacts, direction, and method of travel, or anything abnormal could add context to what occurred. So that is very, very interesting to me. It makes it seem like they think that it could be something connected with those two, and something led to the killer being there. I don't really know, but it's very interesting. Detectives are seeking all outside surveillance video taken from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th, from businesses and residences with a geographical area listed below. Detectives request all available videos, whether there appears to be motion or content or not, from West Taylor Avenue, West Palouse River Drive, Highway 95 South to 2700 block of Highway 95S, and Arboretum and Botanical Garden. And if you look at the map, it's generally over in this area, just like this. And that's interesting, again, because it appears that they believe that the individual didn't drive this direction after committing, or even walk in that direction after committing the murders. So they might think that the killer went out this way, or they're just trying to find cameras in the local area. But I mean, I wonder why they wouldn't ask for cameras anywhere around here. You know, over in this area, in this neighborhood. You know, so that itself is some sort of a clue that they're looking for cameras in this area. Probably trying to, you know, they know he was in the area. But to have it go way down here, that means it's south of the house, which was over here. So to add this area in, but not this area in, gives me an indication that they think it's possible that the killer went this way, or more likely even. Detectives are also seeking additional tips and surveillance video of any unusual behavior on the night of November 12th into the early hours of November 13th, while Kaylee and Madison were in downtown Moscow, and while Ethan and Zaina were at the Sigma Chi house. Anyone who observed unusual behavior near these areas or has video surveillance is asked to submit their tips. So I guess in this instance, they're trying to find if there's any videos or anything of unusual behavior surrounding all four of them that may have led to somebody coming back to the house later. We already have the grub truck video with an individual falling, which we all know the name of, but law enforcement at this time doesn't think he's involved. Investigators have looked extensively into information received about Kaylee having a stalker. They have pursued hundreds of pieces of information, but have not verified or identified a stalker. Anyone with information about a potential stalker or unusual instances is asked to contact the tip line. At this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe the following are involved in the crime: 2 surviving roommates, the male in the grub truck surveillance video, that's the individual I just mentioned earlier, private party driver who took Kaylee and Madison home on November 13th, the male Kaylee and Madison called numerous times during the early morning hours of November 13th. So those are calls made to Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, and the calls began at 2:26 a.m. and Kaylee called, I believe, 6 times up until 2:44 a.m. Then at 2:44 a.m., Madison tried calling the ex-boyfriend 3 times up until 2:52. Then Kaylee called one more time at 2:52, and to me that means that Kaylee thought that maybe her ex-boyfriend was screening the calls and had Madison try calling, but he didn't answer those calls, and then Kaylee tried one more time, and that's 2:52. There are some people out there that speculate that the killer is the one that made these calls. I just think that's absurd. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, the killer would actually grab both of their phones and call the number of an ex-boyfriend. It just doesn't make any sense. I could understand if the killer made calls from one phone, but to actually think to grab two different phones and dial the same number. It doesn't make any sense to me. They also believe that these people aren't involved. Any individual at the residence when 911 was called, or the individual on the lease who moved out of the residence before the school year started and was not present at the time of the incident. Currently, no suspects are in custody and no weapon has been located. On the night of the incident, officers located a dog at the residence. The dog was unharmed, turned over to the animal services, and later released to a responsible party, which turns out to be the ex-boyfriend of Kaylee because they both shared the dog together. Local businesses were contacted to determine if a fixed blade knife had been recently purchased. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters on King Road to locate possible evidence. Governor Brad Little directed up to $1 million in state emergency funds for the ongoing investigation. Throughout the investigation, detectives have collected more than 2,770 calls to the tip line at 208-883-7180. Over 2,645 emails to tipline at ci.moscow.id.us, and over 1,084 digital media submissions to the FBI link. 113 pieces of physical evidence collected and taken to the ISP crime lab. Approximately 4,000 crime scene photographs taken. Multiple three-dimensional scans of the residence. And those are incredibly useful to create because you go in there, the crime scene's undisturbed. That's almost the first thing that you do is you take the 3D scans so you can go back and review the crime scene in its original state whenever you want to. On November 29th, as part of the ongoing homicide investigation and original search warrant, detectives relocated 5 vehicles from within the police perimeter to a more secure long-term storage location to continue processing evidence. Idaho State Police Forensic Services Crime Lab scientists have worked on this case for weeks and provided testing and analysis results to detectives. As they complete additional tests, those results will also be provided. To protect the investigation, integrity-specific results will not be released. As detectives move forward with the homicide investigation, a private security company has been contracted to provide scene security to free up patrol resources. The scene remains under police control. I wonder if that security service are the individuals that showed up and had their heads down, and they had the beards on, and we saw that, I think, on Ashley Banfield's show. So I think that might be what they are. Maybe they almost look like they were former military people. Some people think that they were a cleaning crew coming in to give an estimate, but now I'm wondering if that was indeed a security service. Detectives are aware of a 6th person listed on the lease at the residence. They have spoken to this individual and confirmed they moved out prior to the start of the school year and was not present at the time of the incident. Detectives do not believe this person has any involvement in the murders. Yeah, and so what's interesting about that is this one is very definitive. Detectives do not believe this person has any involvement in the murders. And then up here, it says, at this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe the following are involved in this crime. So it's similar, but it says at this time. Here, it doesn't say at this time. It says detectives do not believe this person has any involvement in the murders. Rumor control. There have been extensive media interest regarding an incident at Taylor Avenue and Banfield on November 13, 2022 at 3 a.m. This incident was an alcohol offense which was addressed by the on-scene officer. This call is not related to the murder investigations. For further details regarding this incident, a Moscow Police Department public records request can be submitted referencing incident number 22MO9896. Right, that's what I was saying on my show, was that there are on college campuses on any given Friday or Saturday night, there are many, many incidents that police respond to. I mean, this incident does occur at 3 a.m., and the murders apparently happened between 3 and 4, they believed, at least originally. So it's possible that there's something to get out of the video. I did order the video a few days back, and I still haven't received it. We have not changed our belief that the murders were targeted. We have not changed our belief that the murders were a targeted attack. However, investigators have not concluded if the target was the resident or its occupants. Kind of a confusing statement. A target the building itself, meaning that they were just going to go in there and kill, or just anybody that was in there, or the actual individuals themselves were targeted. I would think that that's more likely, but if it's a serial killer type person, then it would be the residents. They just went in there and killed whoever was in there. But that's why they went into the building, was to kill people. There have been media questions about a September 12, 2022 incident regarding an argument between a group of people walking on the University of Idaho bike path and a cyclist. It was reported that during the confrontation, the cyclist displayed a folding knife. Both parties dispersed, and there were no injuries. The cyclist turned himself into the police. The case was investigated, and misdemeanor charges were referred to the Moscow City's attorney's office. There is no connection between the individual involved in this incident and the current murder investigations. There have been media questions regarding a February 2022 death on Baker Street. The Lake Tahoe County Coroner's Office has confirmed the death was due to an overdose. This case is not related to the ongoing murder investigation. There have been online reports of a red Mustang on South Deacon Street being processed as part of the murder investigation. This information is not accurate, and the vehicle is not connected to this incident. The identity of the 911 caller has not been released. There have been numerous media inquiries about a 1999 double stabbing in Pullman, Washington, and the 2021 double stabbing with one death in Salem, Oregon. While these cases share similarities with the King Street homicides, there does not appear to be any evidence to support the cases are related. Detectives are aware of a Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Office incident of the report of a skinned dog, but do not believe there is any evidence to support it is related to this incident. Contact Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Office for further details. Detectives are also aware of a Moscow police incident of the report of deceased animals left on a resident's property. This was determined to be wildlife activity and not related to the murders. Online reports of the victims being tied and gagged are not accurate. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope the video was interesting and informative for you. Please hit the like button, share, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell and get notified whenever I go live or put out a video. I'll be going live tonight at around 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we can discuss again the Idaho Four murders and perhaps even the Delphi case, which a lot of people want to talk about. All right, so I will see you then, and that notification bell will let you know. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.